I am Camille, 31 years old, and a healthcare cybersecurity analyst who just uncovered the ultimate security breach in my own marriage. I arrived to pick up my husband, the hospital director, for our daughter's birthday dinner, and caught him hugging his assistant tightly in the courtyard. I heard him whisper that after tonight, he would not have to pretend anymore, and that he just had to play the role of the good father for the evening. That night, my daughter and I vanished, leaving him to call in a blind panic. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe if you have ever had to stand up to a narcissist who completely underestimated your intelligence. Growing up, I learned to see patterns in complex data. It is what makes me exceptional at my job. I track anomalies, build firewalls, and neutralize threats before they can destroy a system. But somehow I missed the glaring anomalies in my own home. Liam and I met 7 years ago in Seattle. He was an ambitious 36-year-old working on his doctorate in medical management. I was the practical, logical woman pulling 60-hour weeks managing network security to pay his tuition and keep our household running. When he finally became the director of St. Jude Hospital, I genuinely thought our shared sacrifices had paid off. Instead, his new prestigious title just inflated an ego I had willfully ignored for years. He started calling my IT job mundane. He treated me like a boring, invisible appliance that paid the bills and managed his life, while he played the visionary leader in tailored suits. Today was supposed to be a joyous occasion. It was our daughter Penelope's 6th birthday. She is a bright, energetic little girl who looks exactly like her father, but has my quiet determination. All she wanted for her birthday was a special dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant with both her parents. I left work early, picked up a custom strawberry cake from a high-end bakery, and drove to the hospital to surprise Liam. The Seattle afternoon was uncharacteristically clear and sunny. I parked my car in the VIP administrative lot, pulling into a visitor spot right next to the private courtyard reserved for hospital executives. I rolled down my car window to enjoy the crisp breeze while I waited for him to finish his afternoon meetings. I glanced at the beautiful pink cake resting on the passenger seat, imagining Penelope's face lighting up when she saw it. I was actually smiling. Then the heavy glass doors of the administrative wing swung open. Out walked Liam. He was not alone. Sloane, his 26-year-old administrative assistant, was practically glued to his side. She was everything Liam thought I was not. She was loud, overly styled, and constantly hanging on to his every word, as if he were the smartest man on earth. I had met her at a few hospital galas, where she would make subtle, passive-aggressive comments about my plain outfits or my demanding tech job. I had brushed it off as immaturity. I smiled initially, assuming they were just walking out together after a long shift. I reached for my door handle, ready to step out and greet them. But then they moved behind a row of tall, thick, decorative hedges just a few feet away from my parked car. They did not notice my vehicle. They did not see me sitting there in the shadows of the dashboard. Sloane turned to face him, wrapping her arms tightly around his neck and pressing her body against his. Liam hugged her back with equal intensity, his hands resting exactly where a professional boss's hands should never ever be. My breath caught in my throat. My hand froze on the door handle. I sat paralyzed, not by a sudden wave of heartbreak or uncontrollable tears, but by a sudden icy clarity. I did not feel the urge to scream or cry or run out there to confront them. My analytical brain simply took over. Through my open window, their voices carried perfectly in the quiet, empty courtyard. Sloane pouted, tracing the lapel of his expensive suit jacket with her manicured fingers. "Do you really have to go tonight? I hate sharing you with her." Liam kissed her forehead, his voice laced with an arrogant exasperation that made my blood run absolutely cold. "After tonight, I will not have to pretend anymore. It is my daughter's birthday, so I have to play the role of the good father. Just give me through the weekend to handle my boring wife. We will be together properly soon." He spoke about our child's birthday, as if it were a tedious chore and annoying performance he had to suffer through. He spoke about me, the woman who had financed his entire career, as if I were a minor inconvenience he was about to discard. The betrayal was immediate, absolute, and utterly unforgivable. Every late night, he claimed to be working every business trip. Every time he criticized my appearance or my dedication to my career, it all suddenly made perfect sense. He had been building a separate reality right in front of me, funded by the stability I provided. Most women might have burst out of the car demanding answers and causing a massive scene in the hospital courtyard. But I am not most women. I deal with security breaches for a living. When you find malware in your system, you do not announce to the virus that you have found it. You silently gather your data, quarantine the infected files, and systematically dismantle the threat from the inside out. I slowly pulled my phone from my purse. My hands were remarkably steady. I activated the camera, zoomed in through the gap in the hedges, and recorded a crystal clear video of my husband kissing his assistant. I captured the audio of their miserable conversation perfectly. I recorded until they finally pulled apart and walked back toward the hospital entrance so he could grab his briefcase for the evening. As soon as the courtyard was clear, I quietly started my engine and backed out of the parking space. I drove away from the hospital, my mind working at lightning speed, formulating a plan that would leave him with absolutely nothing. Liam thought I was a boring, predictable woman who would just cry and beg him to stay when he finally revealed his affair. He thought he held all the power because of his fancy title and his manipulative charm. He had no idea that he had just handed me the exact weapon I needed to destroy his entire false reality. I gripped the steering wheel tightly as I merged onto the highway, glancing at the strawberry cake in the passenger seat. I was still going to give Penelope a wonderful birthday, surrounded by people who actually loved her. But Liam Foster was never going to spend another day pretending to be a good father or a loyal husband in my presence. The game was over, and I was about to change all the rules. The tires of my car gripped the damp asphalt of Interstate 5 as I navigated through the afternoon traffic. The familiar skyline of Seattle blurred past my window, but my focus was entirely internal. In my profession, the moment you realize a hostile entity has breached your system, your heart rate does not spike. You do not scream at the monitor. You enter a state of hyper-focused detachment, executing contingency protocols you have drilled 1,000 times. Liam was no longer my husband. He was a hostile threat to my daughter's stability and my own peace of mind, and I needed to quarantine him immediately. I pulled into the pickup line at Penelope's elementary school right as the final bell chimed. A river of children flooded out the double doors, and I spotted her instantly. She was wearing a glittering paper crown her teacher had made for her, her dark curls bouncing as she ran toward my car. The sheer, unadulterated joy radiating from her small frame hit me like a physical blow, sharply contrasting with the vile words her father had spoken just 20 minutes prior. He viewed her birth as an obligation, a performance. I viewed her as my entire world. She climbed into the back seat, her eyes widening to the size of saucers when she spotted the intricate pink bakery box resting on the passenger seat. I turned around and gave her a flawless, beaming smile, masking the absolute war zone raging in my head. I told her we were initiating a surprise birthday mission, an impromptu sleepover at Aunt Diana and Uncle Terrence's house. She squealed in delight, completely oblivious to the fact that our lives had fundamentally fractured. As Penelope babbled happily about her classmates and the playground games, I pulled the car into a vacant spot behind a quiet strip mall. I told her I needed exactly 5 minutes to send a work email. I reached into my bag and pulled out my encrypted work laptop. It was time to initiate the digital ghost protocol. Liam relied heavily on my technical expertise to run our household. He enjoyed the luxury of a fully automated smart home, integrated tracking and synchronized calendars, never quite grasping the underlying architecture that made it all work. That ignorance was about to become his downfall. My fingers flew across the keyboard. First, I disabled the GPS tracking on my vehicle, my personal cell phone, and Penelope's tablet. I engaged a secure VPN, routing my digital footprint through servers in 3 different countries to scrub my location data entirely. Next, I accessed our home network. With a few swift commands, I disabled the exterior and interior smart cameras, severed his remote access to the thermostat and electronic locks, and completely wiped the server that hosted my remote work files. To him, the digital footprint of our existence would simply evaporate into thin air. I closed the laptop, the satisfying click signaling the end of his access to my life. The drive to Diana and Terrence